Hello YouTube and welcome to episode 7 of how to deadlift over £700. So this is the 7th and final episode and hopefully I've saved the best till last. So now I'm going to go over the exact 31-week program that I used to deadlift £705. So first of all, before we get into the actual program itself, we're just going to talk about the training split. So throughout the whole training cycle, I only trained twice a week. Day 1 and day 2. So day 1 was normally done around Thursday, sometimes Wednesday, sometimes Friday, but normally Thursday, depending on my shifts. And day 2 was normally done on Sunday. So by doing day 2 on Sunday, this would give me normally 3 clear days rest before going back to Tuesday and day 1 again. So I'm just going to quickly break it down for you what I did. So day 1, first of all, I would do the deadlift itself. Just regular deadlift, no different, just practicing on the deadlift and just getting good at that. After that, I would do a deadlift variation, could be a banded deadlift, could be a block deadlift, deficit deadlift, wagon wheel deadlift, and usually I would change them every few weeks. Afterwards, I would normally do safety squat bar good mornings, and I would always do it to a pin as well. Then afterwards I would do some pull downs, usually lat pull downs, or sometimes I would do pull-ups or chin-ups on the assisted machine. Sometimes I would do the pull-ups behind the neck, sometimes I would change the attachment, so it would be a pull down variation of some sort, and then I would every 2 or 3 weeks I would just change it a little bit for variety. After that I would do rows, mainly seated rows or T-bar rows or single arm rows or dumbbell rows, so some form of rows, again changing it every 3 or 4 weeks. After that I would do some single leg work, maybe single leg dumbbell Romanian deadlifts, or maybe Bulgarian split squats, and just change that. Afterwards I would do hamstring curls, maybe I would do it with a band, or sometimes I would use the machine, and sometimes I would do single leg hamstring curls and all, because at the gym that I go to I can, there's 2 different machines, so I can do prone hamstring curls, or I can go on another machine and do single leg curls and work one leg at a time. And then I would finish up with some bicep work, maybe easy bicep curls, or maybe do some hammer curls for forearms, and just switch it up every few weeks. So that was day 1. Notice that's about 8 exercises, and that would normally take me about 3 to 4 hours. Normally I wouldn't recommend doing this much in one session, but because I was only doing 2 days a week, I was able to do it. It weren't a problem, because I knew that after this I'd have 2 days rest, and then I'd have 3 days clear rest after that. So just doing 2 sessions a week, so this is why I was able to do more in one session. I've also had people ask me and all, because notice here, deadlift variation there, so I was deadlifting twice a week, and the reason I was able to do that was because one day would be heavier deadlift, and this day of deadlift would be lighter. But also with this, even though it was heavy, I wasn't training to failure for the most part. I wasn't grinding, I was keeping good form. So throughout the 31 weeks, I think there was literally only 3 or 4 sessions where I actually trained to failure. So for the other 28, 29 sessions, I wasn't training to failure and I was keeping good form. So day 2, safety bar box squats. For the first 10 weeks or so, I used a 12-inch box, but then I went up to a 15-inch box afterwards, and I found that much better. Then I did log and then log assistance. So this was just trying to keep a little bit of pressing in, even though deadlift was my number 1 concern. I did want to put a little bit of log in there, so that when I do go back to overhead pressing again, it doesn't feel totally alien. Now with log and all that was just I was just tidying over with that, really, just ticking over, weren't pushing log or anything like that. Deadlift, like I say, was the main priority, so this was just taking a backseat log and log assistance. So after doing that, I would do another deadlift variation. Could be stiff-legged deadlifts or block pulls or front-banded deadlifts or speed pulls. And then I would finish up with some grip. So could be frame holds, behind the back holds, whatever I felt like doing. And again, I'd change that up. So yeah, so like I say, for 31 weeks, I literally just did 2 training sessions a week, deadlifting on both days, and like I say, really just concentrating on the deadlift, doing the variations, doing the assistance exercises, doing everything I could to really build up that deadlift and pull the 700 pounds. So this is the training split that I use. So yeah, quite simple really, just 2 days a week. Okay, so now we're going to delve into the exact 31 week deadlift program that I used to pull 705 pounds. So yeah, it basically started at October 2023 and I finally pulled 705 pounds on May the 2nd, 2024. So when I started in October 2023, my deadlift at that time was 290 kilos or 639 pounds. So it took me 7 months to gain 30 kilos or 70, yes, 66 pounds, 30 kilos or 66 pounds, it took me 7 months. Now that might seem slow to some people, but when you're at that level, progress on the deadlift can be very slow. If you've seen the previous videos, if you remember episode 1, I actually started deadlifting weight back around 2001. So anyway, so now like I said, we're going to delve into the 31 week program. So this actually comes in 3 parts. So it was 3 different training blocks. So the first block was 10 weeks long, and that was designed to get me the first 15 kilos because I decided to break it down. I wanted to increase from 290 to 320, so that's a 30 kilo increase. So it was supposed to be 2 blocks, but it ended up being 3, but I'll get into why shortly. So this did take a little bit longer than it should have done, but I did eventually pull 705 pounds. So basically it was supposed to be 2 blocks. So the first block was supposed to give me 15 kilos, and then the second block was supposed to give me the next 15 kilos and get me to 320. So starting off at 290, so the first week started at 220 kilos, 4 reps, 225 kilos, 4 reps, and 227.5 kilos, 4 reps. I've decided to do this in kilos just for simplicity, just so the numbers are a bit easier to read. I just find it's easier rather than just saying 485 pounds, 496 pounds, and 501 pounds. So starting at 290, so first week, yeah, just drop the weight back to 220 kilos. So basically the first week is 3 sets of 4 basically. The first set at 220 kilos, the second set at 225 kilos, and the third and final set at 227.5 kilos. So 3 sets of 4 the first week. The second week, 2 sets of 2 this time, 240 kilos for 2, and then the second set was 245 kilos for 2. The third week, week 3, 260 kilos, 2 sets of 2. So the same weight, but for 2 sets of 2. And yeah, that actually felt good. It went up nice and easy. So to make this program work, basically, for the most part, I was doing 2 sets of 2. I like 2 sets of 2, it's quite easy, it's quite simple. 2 sets of 2 really worked for me. That really helped me pull 700 pounds. But the trick to it is to try and make the weight move easy and feel good and easy. You want to like do it in a fashion where it's hard but it's comfortable and there's no hitching. I tried to basically just lift the weight but try and make it feel easy and make it feel comfortable, stay away from failure and just gradually progress the load each week and just stay at 2 sets of 2. And if I could do that and keep good form without hitching, then I knew that I was in a good place. Because the thing is, I was able to deadlift twice a week because I wasn't hitching, because I was keeping good form, and because I was staying away from failure. So that's the secret to it. That's the smart bit. That's what made this work so well for me. is the fact that I wasn't grinding my reps. You know, it was all easy and good, and then when it wasn't, I would adjust to compensate for that. So, for example, week 3, 260, 2 sets of 2, moved well, no hitching, felt okay. Going into the 4th week, 275 kilos, 2 sets of 2. I didn't hitch it. The form was good, but it did feel quite heavy, to be honest. So if I'd have gone further and gone to 285, 290, there's a chance I might have hitched it, and 275 just felt heavy that week. I was successful. I did get 2 sets of 2, and although I didn't hitch it, it did feel substantially more heavier than the 260 before it. Being only 15 kilos increase, it should have moved easy, but it didn't. I mean, usually sometimes if you have a bad workout, it could be maybe you didn't sleep well, maybe you didn't eat well, or maybe you're stressed, or there could be any number of factors. I'm not sure what the problem was there, because my food was on point, sleep was on point, but that session just didn't go so well. So to compensate for that, on the 5th week I just dropped to 240. So I basically, on the 5th week, went back to the weights of the 2nd week: 240 for 2, 245 for 2, and then I just built up again. So week 6, 260 for 2. So I'm basically repeating the 3rd week now. Now on the 7th week, instead of doing 275 2 sets of 2, I did 277.5 for 2 sets of 2, and yeah, that felt alright. That felt a lot easier and moved a lot better than the 275 did 3 weeks previously. So I knew that I was going to be in a good place to end this block. So week 8, 292.5 kilos for 1 set of 2, and that was actually a PB. That was the most I'd ever pulled for 2 reps up to that point. And now notice that I've already surpassed my previous max, which was 290. I've now just done 292.5, not just for 1 but for 2 reps. So I was really pleased with that. That moved good. And when I did that, I think I might have been able to get 3 maybe, but yeah, 292.5. I remember at the time thinking that was quite comfortable, and I was really in awe, because like I said, I think that was the most I'd ever done for 2 reps at that point. Now that was a rep PB, so really pleased with that. So week 9, this was just a deload week now, because I knew that after that I was going to do a single. So deload, so around 60-ish% roughly. So 180 for 4, 182.5 for 4, and 185 for 4. So this is basically just 3 sets of 4, but around 60% of projected max. So yeah, that 185 for 4, that felt like an empty bar. That just moved. 185 just felt fast and easy. So I knew I was going to be in a good place to pull. So coming into week 10, the plan was to deadlift 305, because 305 gets me that first 15 kilo increase, and 305 moved good. Yeah, so 305, I think that was like an RPE 9.5. I don't think I could have done 2 reps, but I think I could have done. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm about 90% certain I could have done 310. And probably about 50-50 that I could have done 315. So after I did the 305, like I say, that actually moved quite well. I don't think I even hitched it, actually. That 305 moved quite comfortably. There was definitely more kilos in the tank. So I decided to take a risk and attempt the 320. And I actually did get it to my knees, but I just wasn't quite ready for it. But having held 320 for the first time ever, I knew that it was there. I knew I was capable of it. To attempt the 320, that wasn't part of the plan. I wasn't supposed to do that. But because the 305 moved comfortably, I thought I would take a risk. And although it didn't pay off, although I didn't pull the 320, I wasn't bothered, because it wasn't part of the plan, and at least now I'd tasted 320, I'd felt 320, and just by getting it to the knees, just by feeling it, I knew that it was possible. So this is part 1 of the 31-week training block, and it was a big success. In just 10 weeks I'd already added 15 kilos onto my deadlift, so I was really chuffed with this little block here. It really worked wonders for me. Okay, so now moving on to the second block now. This block was 12 weeks long, basically from week 11 to week 22. So having now deadlifted 305 kilos, I decided to start back again. So dropped down to 200 kilos, 5 sets of 5. Second week, 225 kilos, 6 sets of 1, but doing it as an EMOM. So that basically means every minute on the minute. So the bar would be 225 kilos, I'd do a rep, and then on minute 2 I would do the second rep, minute 3, etc, until I'd done all 6 minutes basically. Week 13, same again, more weight, 240, but this time just 4 sets of 1 EMOM. Week 14, 255 kilos, 2 sets of 2. Just in case you're wondering how I warm up for these, because someone's probably going to ask. So let's take this 255 for example. So I might do a plate aside, which is 60 kilos, 2 plates aside, 100 kilos. So for the 60 kilos, I might do 5 reps. For the 100 kilos, 3 reps. Then I might do 3 plates aside, 140 kilos, and that'll just be 1 rep, and just pull that as fast as possible. 4 plates aside, 180, a single rep, and then 220 kilos, 5 plates aside, and again pull that for a fast single. I like to do, so for the lightweight, I'll do like 5 reps, then the second set, warm-up set, I'll do 3 reps, and then after that, all the warm-ups, I like to pull for fast singles. This is good because it helps me psychologically move the weight fast and makes the weight feel easy, but it also conserves energy as well for them, for when I do get into their working sets. Please remember, here I'm only showing the working sets, I'm not showing the warm-ups. But generally I'll do about 4 or 5 warm-up sets, maybe 6 if I feel that I need them, but that's generally the protocol I'll use. I'll do 5 reps on the first warm-up set, then 3 reps, and then for all the subsequent warm-up sets, just pull singles until I get to the top working set. So I hope that helps. So yeah, week 14, 255 kilos, 2 sets of 2. Like I say, these are the working sets. Week 15, so I just worked up to 270 kilos for 2, and then I did 270 to 2.5 kilos for 2, so £600 for 2 here. Week 16, 230, 2.5, so I'll drop the weight down again. Again, another EMOM set, so 5 sets of 1 every minute on a minute for 5 minutes. So 1 rep every minute for 5 minutes. I hope that makes sense. I have got a video somewhere on my YouTube explaining EMOM training for those of you that may not be familiar with what it is. So if you're not familiar, go to my YouTube playlists. It's under information and tips, and you should be able to find it there, and that'll basically explain EMOM for those of you that don't know what that is. But it's basically you just do 1 rep every minute on the minute until you have done the amount of sets required, in this case 5. Okay, so week 17, 257.5 kilos, 2 sets of 2. Week 18, 267.5 kilos. This time I did 3 sets of 2. Reason being is because I wanted to I did the 3 sets of 2 there because I just wanted to have the confidence, because I knew that if I could do 3 sets of 2 at that weight and it all moved comfortably, then I'd be in a good place to advance the weight 15 kilos. So week 19, 282.5 kilos, 2 sets of 2. So I managed that, so really pleased with that. I think that was my best for 2 sets of 2. So I think previously, before that, I did 277, so this was the most I'd done. So that's why I did 3 sets, because I knew if I could do 3 sets of 2 comfortably with that, then there would be a good chance that I'd get that, which I did. And that did move comfortably, but I knew the plan was to do 300 the week after that, but I wasn't sure about it. So I thought, well, I'll take a deload. So I did 170 kilos, 3 sets of 4, which turned out to actually be a mistake. However, week 21, 300 kilos, I got 2, and that moved really well. I actually could have got 3 reps of that. I could have done 300 kilos for 3 that week. That was to an RPE 9. And then week 22, this was where I attempted the 320 kilos again. So I did all my warm-ups. I did 5 warm-up sets, 60 times 5, 100 times 3, 140 for 1, 180 for 1, 220 for 1, and then 260 was my first attempt, and that was okay. I did 295, but that did move a little slow, and then I went for the 320. Now, I nearly got the 320, but as I got it above my knee, as I tried to hitch it, I just went back and came out of position, and the barbell just got in front of me and it just got away from me. I just lost my position on that. I very nearly had that. So I would have pulled 705. I would have pulled it in 22 weeks. But unfortunately, I think it was a combination of two things. It was two reasons why I failed. First of all, because I did this. I went for 300 for 2, and then I came in the next week and tried to do 320. What I should have done is 300 for 2 should have been done on week 20, and then the deload should have been done on week 21, and then I almost certainly would have got the 320. That deload should have been there. That's what I should have done. That was one of my mistakes. And the other mistake, of course, is with the 320, I overly hitched it. I just went back too far and I just lost my position. I just came out of position. The weight got ahead, in front of me, and I just couldn't save it after that. So I think that, like I say, it was a combination of them two main things. So this is the second time now that I failed 320. Now, when I failed the 320 on the week 10, that wasn't part of the plan, so I wasn't really that bothered about it. But this time, the intention was to pull 320, and I'd failed it. So I knew that, I thought, okay, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to give myself 9 weeks. I'm going to write a new program. It's going to be similar to this, but I'm going to use slightly more weight. So the 9 weeks that come after this was basically just an extension of this, really. But I'm going to go into it in a minute. So now I'm going to show you in a minute the last 9 weeks and the final drive for the 700-pound deadlift. Right, okay, so this is the third and final part of the block now. The final 9 weeks, the drive for 700. So, yeah, week 22, I failed the 320. Undaunted though, I knew I was going to do it. I wasn't going to let failure hold me back. I knew that I could do it. I knew that I was capable of it. I'd now held 700 pounds in my hand twice. So I thought, right, okay, we're going to do it in 9 weeks. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to do an extension of what I did before, but I'm just going to increase the weight slightly, and I'm going to do similar to what I did before, but I'm just going to change a few things here and there. And I mapped it all out. See, if you want to achieve a goal, you need to basically work backwards, and that's what I did. So I thought, right, on week 9 I want to pull 320, so I know that week 8's got to be a deload, so I just basically backtracked and worked backwards and just wrote all the weights backwards and thought, well, I'm going to start at such and such, and I'm going to increase 20 kilos each week roughly, give or take, and then it'll be there at the end. So week 23, so started at 170 kilos, 3 sets of 4, nice, light and easy. So I thought to myself, okay, so week 24 I'm going to start at 225, and I'm going to increase 20 kilos each week until I'm ready. So week 24, so I did 208 for 4 and 234. They may seem like weird numbers, but the reason for that was because I went to a gym in called Evolution in Aylesford, and they've got like a Kratos bar that's 10 foot long, so I wanted to try that out, but it weighs about 28 kilos, so hence why the weird numbers. But again, I could have done more, but I kept it at roughly. I knew I wanted to keep it around that kind of weight because I didn't want to deviate from the program. This was set in stone, and I wasn't going to deviate from it, so I didn't go any higher than 213 for 4, and yeah, that was all right. Week 25, back to the normal gym now. 225, 2 sets of 3, nice, light and easy. Week 26, 245, 2 sets of 2. Week 27, 265, 2 sets of 2. So notice I'm going up 20 kilos every single week. This is how I mapped it out. This is how I planned it. 27, 265, 2 sets of 2. Week 28, this was supposed to be 285, 2 sets of 2. So I did 2 reps on the first set, and then I just put my half kilo plates on, 286 times 2. So I don't know, I think it's where I just wanted £630 because 285 is 628. So 286 times 2, so that's £630 for a double. So I did that. This time I made sure I didn't make the mistake I did last time. I knew that in order to make this work, I'd have to end on a big double. And last time I did 300 for 2, and I definitely could have got 3 reps there. So I thought, if I can get 305 for a double, this was my plan. I knew that if I could get 305 for a double, the chances of me getting 320, me getting 320 was basically a foregone conclusion. I knew that if I could double that, if I get 305 for 2, then yeah, 320 will be there. So I did the 305 for 2. I couldn't have got 3 reps. That was hard, but I thought it's okay, it's not a problem, because I know I've got a deload coming up. I can pull back some recovery, and then I'll be good to go. So yeah, week 30, just basically deload 180, 190. I didn't go any higher than 190, just pulled it nice, light and easy for speed, just to pull back some recovery and just be rested and raring to go. And then week 31 I came in. Now this time I did it a little bit differently. So on week 22, when I attempted 320, I went 262.95 and then 320. But I thought, okay, I'm going to do it a little different this time. I'm going to make the warm up slightly higher. Okay. Reason being is because I know if I can pull the openers, if I can pull them fast and comfortably, then that's going to give me the confidence going in. So I did 270 times 1, and yeah, that moved so easily. 300 moved comfortably and all, and then I went for the 320, and voila, I got it. So yeah, really great session, excellently mapped out, perfectly planned, perfectly executed, and finally, on the third attempt, I pulled 320 kilos or 705 pounds. So with this, if I remember rightly, I think I did 70 kilos, 110 kilos. So on this it was 70 kilos for 5, 110 kilos for 3, 150 for 1, 190 for 1, 230 for 1, and then I went straight for 270 as my first opener, and then 300 kilos for the second attempt, and then 320 for the third and final attempt. So yeah, I think one of the other things that made me pick these numbers as well, not just so they was a bit heavier so I could feel comfortable, but also to try and like mirror what Eddie had done with his 500 deadlift and what Ford did with 501. So when Eddie Hall deadlifted 500, his openers was 420 and 465. So the 420 was 84%. So my goal's 320, so 84% of that is around, I think it was around 268, so I did 270 just to round it off. And then Eddie did 465 kilos, which is 93% of 500. So 320, so 93% of that is about 297, so I did 300 just to round that off. And then yeah, 320, so that was my reason for picking it. And as you can see, it worked out perfectly. So that is the exact 31-week deadlift program that I used to pull 705 pounds. So I hope that helped. So of course, like I say, you can use this, but obviously if you're lower than that, let's say for example, if your goal is to pull 500, maybe look at this and then maybe adjust the poundages accordingly. But like I say, this is how I did it. Like I say, this isn't going to work for everyone, but this is what worked for me. This is how I pulled 705 pounds. This is the exact 31-week program that I used to pull 705 pounds. Right, okay, little bonus for you. Right, so I really want to make this How to Deadlift 700 pound series as comprehensive as possible, because I realise, of course, that some of you watching this, you're not going to be at the level where you can pull 700. Some of you might be beginners and you might be pulling less than 300, or some of you might be pulling in the 400s or 500s. So I want to give you a little sample program here. But first thing I'll say is, if you're a beginner, if you're pulling less than 300 pounds, I would just do deadlifts. 5 by 5 is quite good, you know, or maybe 3 sets of 5 or whatever. Maybe just put in 5s and just gradually progress the load each week. Maybe do that. But let's say you've been training for a while and your deadlift is pretty good. Your technique is getting better and you're mastering your positions. One thing to consider maybe is do like a building phase, also known as an accumulation phase, and then you've got your testing phase or your peaking phase. So you might want to do like 8 weeks of accumulation, 8 weeks of maybe building your deadlift, and then 8 weeks of peaking your deadlift. So for example, let's say you're a 525 puller, which is about 238 kilos, and your goal is to deadlift 550 pounds. So you might want to do a building phase, an accumulation phase. So let's say you do an 8-week phase, you might start with snatch grip deficit deadlift. Now with deficit, if you remember in the previous videos, I said not to go any higher than 2 inches. So use a snatch grip or a wide grip, not a full snatch grip, but just a wide grip where your hands are outside the rings. So just do that. Stand on a 2-inch deficit. So you're making the deadlift doubly hard because you're using a wide grip and you're standing on a plate as well. That will make it really hard. So you want to make the deadlift as hard as possible. 3 sets of 6, not to failure. Say about RPE 8. So it should be heavy but comfortable. Maybe you feel like you could have done 8 or 9 reps. That's what you're looking for. The second week, do the same again, but this time drop the reps, maybe 3 sets of 5. Again, not to failure. None of this you want to do to failure. Remember, this is for building, okay? You want to build that base and increase that peak, okay? The third week, same again. This time, increase the weight a bit, 3 sets of 4. Then, fourth week, have a deload. Then on the 5th week, maybe just use a deficit. So you bring your arms in, you now use a regular deadlift, but still standing on a plate. So this time you'll be able to increase the weight a little bit more. So you go back to your 3 sets of 6, but this 3 sets of 6 is going to be higher than the weight that you did this time. So just for argument's sake, let's say snatch grip deficit pulls. Let's say, just for argument's sake, you did 120 for 3 sets of 6. Now on this, you might be able to do 140. Like I say, I'm just making these numbers up. It could be anything. If you've got no idea what this is, I would just start really conservatively. It's always better to start too light than start too heavy, because remember, with this, you don't need to go heavy on this because you're going to progress the load anyway. So this first week, I don't want you going heavy on it, okay? So let's say, yeah, week 5, deficit 2-inch deadlift, 3 sets of 6. Then you'll go 3 sets of 5, 7th week, 3 sets of 4, and then on the 8th week, a 3 rep max. But again, just like you only want to go to like RPE 9 there, you don't want to, you want to do a 3 rep max, but you want to feel like you could have done 4. You don't want to train to failure at all on this bit, okay? No fails, okay? Heavy but comfortable, okay? Now let's say that you're that 525-pound pulley, you're pulling 238 kilos, okay? 240 kilos roughly. And your goal is to do 250. So you can do an 8-week block. So you might start at 135 kilos, 3 sets of 3, nice, light and easy. Second week, 155, now 3 sets of 2. Week 3, 175, 2 sets of 2. Week 4, 195, 2 sets of 2. Week 5, 215, 2 sets of 2. Week 6, 235 and pull a big double. Week 7, deload. So the goal is 250, so 60% of that 150, 3 sets of 3. And then a week 8, work up. Your first attempt will be about 210, second attempt 230, and then you pull that big 250 kilo deadlift. Okay, so like I say, this is just a little sample program. Like I say, if you're maybe if your deadlift goal is 450, maybe adjust these numbers a little bit. You don't even have to go up 20 kilos a week. You could go up 15. So it could look like this. So let's say that's 235. So instead of 215, that could be 220. You could go up 15 kilos a week. It doesn't have to be exactly as written. But basically, you just want to map out a plan where you're going to progress the load. So by going up 15 kilos, your starting weight is obviously going to be higher. So you're going to start at 160. Okay, that should be free. Okay. I mean, you could even start 3 sets of 4. It doesn't matter, but I'd start 3 sets of 3, 3 sets of 4. Maybe the second week 3 sets of 3, and then 3 sets of 2 until you're getting to 2 sets of 2. And yes, so you could do it like that and just go up 15 kilos each week. So obviously, because of that, you'll be starting higher. So instead of starting at 135, you'll start at 160. Should you do this or this? It depends really. If you've done before this and you're a bit beaten up, then maybe start lighter. But if you've done this beforehand, if you've done your accumulation beforehand, then you should be alright to start at a higher weight. But again, like I say, you don't want to be failing on these. On the whole of this, you should not be failing. No failing, right? And you shouldn't be hitching. You should not be breaking form. The only time that's acceptable is when you get towards the end of your peaking phase. Okay. So for example, this 235 for 2, you might hit you a little bit. Try not to break form, but 235 for 2, you should walk away from that comfortably feeling you could have got 3. If you can do that, then 250 is pretty much going to be there, okay? So I hope this helps. I just want to make this video series as comprehensive as possible. So this is the last episode in the series. I hope it's been helpful. If you've missed the other episodes, go back and take a look. Like I say, this is the 7th episode, so you've got episodes 1 through 6. Episode 1 talks about the background and history of my deadlift progress and shows you how my deadlift evolved over the course of 23 years. Number 2 is before you deadlift, hints, tips and info. Episode 3 is technique. Episode 4 is creating a program of basically just more hints and tips that you that might help you. Episode 5 is deadlift variations and which ones to use, and episode 6 is assistance exercise you can use to increase your deadlift. So yeah, like I say, if you've missed any of the other videos, please go back and take a look, and hopefully you'll be able to pick some bits up here. But I'm hoping that you guys can take away something from this, and I hope that it is helpful. So if it has been helpful and you've enjoyed the videos, please don't forget to like, subscribe. If you've got any questions, please leave a comment. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you guys for watching, and take care, and I hope you'll build a big deadlift.